Hey, what's going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom, and if this is your first time here, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, for coming and checking out my channel, for just listening to what I have to say. I really appreciate it. If you do like what you hear, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It goes a long way. We just passed 22,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. I have some really audacious, crazy goals, and the subscriber count really helps me get closer and closer to inching to those goals. So if this is your first time here and you like what I have to say, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Comments, just hitting that thumbs up, hitting that like button, they go a long way in the algorithm. So thank you so much for all of that. I really appreciate all the support. If you have been here before and you continue to come back just to show your support, thank you. You guys are amazing, and I hope you know how special you are to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I want to talk to you today about the market, and I know I touched on the market a little bit last week and the whole bubble concept and things like that, and I don't think we're in a bubble, but I do think we're in kind of a market correction where some things are starting to kind of level out a little bit. You're not getting these 300% increases over the span of 2 weeks on products like Evolutions. You're not getting these 300% increases on vintage singles in the span of a couple weeks. Starting to level out. Some things are starting to come back down a little bit, and that's really good for people on the business side of things, for people who are just trying to collect. It gives more product. It means more product is out there. The demand is dying down a little bit. You should start seeing stores have more product, especially now that all these reprints are coming with Unified Minds, with Champion's Path, with Hidden Fates, with hopefully Cosmic Eclipse, with Darkness Ablaze, with Vivid Voltage. There's so much coming in the next month that there should be more availability, and what that does is that really helps us capture some additional opportunities as business owners and as collectors and as just casual players, just people who like having fun opening packs. It just gives us more opportunities, which is fantastic. But as the market is shifting, it's really important that you as a business owner, or even you as an investor, also shift as well. If you're somebody who's just starting to get into TCG Play, or you're somebody who's just starting to get into eBay sales, or you're just somebody who's starting to get into Pokemon sales in general, or even turning cards so you can support your hobby, this is the exact time where you really need to start looking at the future. 2020 is finally coming to a close, and I know it's been an exhausting, long year where we are happy to close the door in 2020. One of the big things that I really dislike in 2020, one of the things that stopped and closed down because of everything that's going on, was competitive events, because I used to go to competitive events as much as I possibly could, whether it be working or playing. And when I first started with this company, or with my previous company, with this business, we were somebody who really liked catering towards the competitive players. We were competitive players when we started my old business, which was Dead Draw Gaming. We went to tournaments, we hung out with competitive players, we talked to competitive players, so we discussed the meta, we discussed different deck ideas, we discussed text, we discussed theory mining, we discussed all of that stuff all the time, and we really wanted to have an outlet that we could create to provide the competitive world with cards at a decent price, because at the time there was Shaman that was so expensive, eventually there were Tapu Leles that got so expensive, and we really just wanted to be able to provide multiple copies of these cards at a decent price without competitive players going to these events and getting price gouged all over the place. And that's what we prided ourselves on, and it worked out pretty well. Unfortunately, what we didn't understand at that time was the competitive world is just a microscopic part of what makes up Pokemon cards. So we had it completely backwards, and I'm telling you this because I also don't want you to make the same mistake on the opposite end. The collector market and the casual player side of things is way bigger than the competitive world could ever even understand. And I thought the exact opposite when I would go to events and I would see thousands of competitive players, and those are the people that you're interacting with, and when you're constantly surrounding yourself with those people all the time, you are just enamored in that world, and that's what you become, and that's what you learn. You don't learn about the outside world. You don't learn about the collector side of things. You don't learn about the casual player side of things. And I don't want you to make that same mistake on the opposite end of the spectrum. So I know that there is a decent sized audience who watches this channel that caters towards collectors and caters towards people who might be interested in PSA slabs. But if you're somebody who maybe just started their own TCG Player account, maybe not even for a business, just somebody who's looking to support their hobby, you have to look at the fact that the competitive players do make up a very large portion of this game, and what they give you is consistent margins. And that's what's important, because that helps you keep the doors open, that helps you keep the lights on, that helps give you some sort of a salary or something in your pocketbook, or something that you can at least invest to start getting those more lucrative returns, like you would get on some of that vintage product, or like you would get on some of those more hyped up modern cards. Pokemon is doing their part. They are reprinting a ton of different stuff coming up in December. We have Champion's Path, we have Hidden Fates, we have Darkness Ablaze, we have Vivid Voltage, we now have Unified Minds. We will hopefully have Cosmic Eclipse in Q1. All of these reprints are helping bring the product back down to earthly tones, where hopefully you will be able to go out into storefronts and find product, and it won't be, you know, on the Facebook Marketplace where it's 3 times what it would cost in the stores. Hopefully you'll be able to just wake up one day, go to the store, buy some packs, or talk to your distributor and buy some supplies, and it'll be great. But we have to address the fact that the market is going to shift even more coming up in the near future. Recently, Pokemon sent out a press release to the competitive players saying, hey, we're going to shut down competitive play for the rest of 2020, but we look forward to seeing you early in 2021. Which means once we get through all this stuff, once we get vaccinations that are legalized and that go in and they're deemed safe and things start getting back a little bit closer to normal, we are going to want to really pay attention to how the market shifts even more. And it's very important, whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're somebody who's looking to start a business, that you start paying attention to what is going on out in the competitive world, because this is what is your bread and butter as a storefront. This is what, like I said, is going to keep the doors open and going to keep the lights on. So you really want to start paying attention to decks that are being played with. You really want to start paying attention to competitive articles that are out there, or competitive YouTube channels that are out there. And there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of good resources. So just on YouTube, just right here, you can go to like Celio's Network. They have a very good competitive YouTube channel. Trainer Chip, he has a very good competitive YouTube channel. You can just go watch what these people are talking about, and there's a ton other ones, but just to give you a couple ideas, you can start getting an understanding of what decks are out there, whether it be Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, or whether it be a Pikarom variant, or whether it be Eternatus, or whether it be Blacephalon. There are a lot of good decks out there right now that are topping in whatever events we can call them right now, whether they be a Pokestats Invitational, or whether they be a Players Cup. There are a lot of these decks out there that are playing consistent counts of trainers, consistent counts of rares, consistent counts of GX cards, consistent counts of V cards. And these are the cards that you want to make sure you're stockpiling a little bit of, because when competitive play does open up, all these people who are playing PTCGO, all these people who are downloading that client, downloading that software, and playing online for the majority of their time, they are going to need physical cards. And it is not uncommon for competitive players to carry 4, 5, 6 decks at a time, which means they're probably going to need 20 to 24 copies of Boss's Order, 20 to 24 copies of Professor's Research, 20 to 24 copies of Scoop Up Nets, 20 to 24 copies of Quick Ball, Reset Stamp, and all these other trainers that are out there all the time that are considered staples in the format, that you want to make sure that you have maybe 100, maybe 200 copies of, because they're going to sell very well on TCG Player, very well on Amazon, very well on eBay, and very well on whatever market you're selling to, because there's going to be competitive players that you can start catering to as that market shifts. Right now, a lot of your customer base is going to be collectors. It's going to be maybe casual players, but for the most part, collectors, people who are looking at finishing sets, things like that. But once January turns around and we start looking towards getting competitive events to start back up again, all these people are going to need physical copies of their cards. So it's really important that we start doing our homework and paying attention to what's going on in the meta, because there is still a meta and there is still a format, even though there aren't in-person events going on right now. So I mentioned those couple of things on YouTube. You can go on Twitter, for example, and a really good follow is PTCG Stats. You can even go to PTCGstats.com or Pokestats on Twitter. Pokestats CCG, I think, is their handle. But they release all this competitive content all the time, all these summaries, all these recaps. And they were around when I owned my previous business, before I worked with Papa, before the Coliseum. We would talk to Pokestats all the time about all the details and all the analytics that they put all over the place, whether it be recaps of events, deck lists, things like that, player interviews, amazing things. I've talked before about Limitless. You could follow Limitless on Twitter. You can go to the Limitless website. Now they're a European team or company, or both, I guess I would call them, but you can go there, you can get deck lists, and you will find similarities between all these deck lists that are out there, which will really give you a good idea of what you should start paying attention to. But it's also good to learn how to play the game. So if you're somebody who hasn't really paid attention to playing the game or the competitive side of things, I would download the Pokemon trading card game online software, I would download that application and just have it installed in your computer. They give you a tutorial right when you start, right when you sign up, that shows you step-by-step instructions how to play the game. You can kind of get an idea of the ladder that's out there, and get an idea of what people are playing, and then you can start learning for yourself a little bit as far as what you want to be carrying as a storefront, because you may want to go and work at a regional event and have a booth of your own, and the best way to have a successful booth is to know what you're talking about when it comes to the game. So watching these competitive YouTube channels, researching, there's websites out there that you can go to. Also, some are free, some you have to pay for. Some really good examples are like Limitless, I already said, but there's also Cutter Tap, there's Faded Town, there's a bunch of different ones out there that you can go to. Poke Beach has a competitive content forum, 60 cards, 6 prizes. All these different websites that are out there, they give you either paid content and free content that you can go just to get an understanding of the game and just to get an understanding of the meta. And that's the market shift that we're talking about. That's what you want to pay attention to, because yeah, it may not seem like selling a card for $2, $3, $4 is really important, but when you have 100 to 200 copies of these cards that you're really just pulling out of bulk and aren't selling right now for you the way it is because it's not a competitive market, holding on to those and selling come January, February, March, once we're looking at these events really starting back up, is super important, and it's really going to help you in the long run establish that cash flow that you can then turn around and invest into sealed product, invest in more competitive cards, and who knows, maybe you might fall in love with the game from a competitive standpoint and really be able to start making something special out of this. So my advice is to enamor yourself in the competitive world, get a better understanding of everything that's going on, just so you can grow your business the right way and you're not catering only to one crowd like the collectors. As big as the collectors market is, and as important as that is, and yeah, there can be some really lucrative deals that go on in the collector market, it is very, very important to start familiarizing relationships with these competitive players, because when new sets come out, it is not that uncommon for a competitive player to message you and say, hey, I need a playset of every single card that comes out in this set. And before you know it, you're looking to just build one master set, but somebody wants a playset of everything in the set just so they have that available to them to build decks. And that's something that a lot of collectors and a lot of hobbyists and a lot of people who are starting their business don't understand, is that these markets, when it comes to the competitive side of things, can be very lucrative as well. So take that to heart, take that into consideration as you move forward, and it's very, very important to establish those relationships, especially with competitive players alongside the collectors. Guys, I hope I taught you something new. I know I rambled for a long time, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming and checking out my channel. If you like what I said, please hit that subscribe button down below. That's as enthusiastic as I get, because there's a 1-year-old who's sleeping and I don't want to wake anybody up, because then that's just going to lead to more problems. Guys, thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow night to go over Black Friday deals, why it's important to run Black Friday deals, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, all that good stuff. And then we'll take a day off to hang out with family for Thanksgiving. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving if you're not watching tomorrow night's video, but thank you so much for checking out this one. Until next time, peace.